I'm a man who believed that I died 20 years ago, and I live like a man who is dead already. I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
Gary Webb. I am an investigative journalist, and in 1996 I wrote a series of stories entitled Dark Alliance, which was about CIA involvement in drug trafficking.
I knew a man who once said death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back.
We've both been skull and bone, the secret society.
It's so secret we can't talk about it.
What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go
I'm
wild.
sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the rest.
Number 322.
I sad duty to report this afternoon that my friend and colleague, Tim Russell, collapsed and died early this afternoon.
I may die in this cell tonight or in the arena tomorrow. I am a slave. What possible difference can I make?
And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
Welcome back, Already Deadheads, your favorite weekly live conspiracy call-in show. We're joined, as always, by our brainy bro, Austin Picard, are the ever-present co-hosts. I almost was going to say my Batman and my Robin, but no, we're co-equals here. I don't know, Nightwing and I don't know, maybe one, I don't know. No, that doesn't even work either. I don't know. But no one takes the lead. We both. I'm just guiding. I'm just riding. How I usually say, I'm just kind of the one who's like kind of taking the reins, but he's the bucking bull. That's Austin, and I'm just kind of riding the autism, trying to direct it into a useful course, something that people will find entertaining. Although I commonly get gripe in the comments for not letting you just buck in the roll. And sometimes, hey, sometimes you got to pull one way or the other. Sometimes you make a misjudgment. It is what it is. But we all have our place. It's a wild week. I just realized as we were talking. Oh, by the way, I do want to address. I saw a lot of people say, "Oh, you're late." No, we're not late. You're poor. I just want to remind you guys, we have a pre-show and a post-show. If you're a patron, you get the link. You just get to hang out in the back. We have your own private chat and everything. We see you before we see anybody else. So stop being poor and give me and Austin money, and we won't be late. In fact, we'll be quite early. So usually it's just me and Austin trying to way last minute throw together our autism and figure out all the different things. But yeah, me and you, Austin, I realized that as we were talking, somehow this is the way the news cycle goes these days. Yeah. I had completely moved past I assumed me and you had already talked about the DC shooter thing. And apparently we have not somehow, which I find completely astounding. Before I pass it off to you, I do want to, obviously I've covered it quite a bit on my show already. Literally the first paragraph in what was it, the Times, I think? It was immediately saying Death Squad-y. He was like a CIA Death Squad guy. And it's just move right past it. I just find it funny. I kind of want to make a parallel because, the more things change, the more they stay the same. It was funny. Wendy Painting actually released, maybe actually it was yesterday. She released, I don't know if I'm assuming this is a new document she found. It's a job application of Timothy McVeigh filled out in 1994. And in there, he lists his military experience, as PSYOP and demolitions.
Wow. Oh, my God.
So it's just, it just keeps on going. History rhymes, just continues over and over and over again. This time it's a Muslim. Next time it'll be a whitey. And,
exactly.
Rinse and repeat.
Yes, I believe modern gladio and the strategy of tension has been alive and well for far too long, right? And it's just the network really exposed itself far too often following World War II at this, as far as I'm concerned, and just seeing at face value the sort of layered parallels in terms of the individual perpetrator in DC, one of which was obviously the report saying he was allegedly recruited by the age of 16 into these zero-unit death squads that were essentially responsible for heinous war crimes in Afghanistan and during the Iraq War, right? And that alone is just red flags all over and beyond.
In a known bocce unit, like the leader of that unit was known for being kind of like one of these bocce fellers, liking to diddle little boys, and just kind of that's the deal. And what was this guy other than a little boy, working for this group? One other little factoid in there. Apparently, he actually did time. I'm not specific. Like he actually went to prison for this, and I think even throughout that, he was still receiving pay from the CIA for his services even after that. So.
What is that?
Yeah, I'd recommend people go look into these zero units. That's what they're called. They're
military groups. It's the same
just
Belgian playbook, right? I mean, yeah, but I mean, just as much as we've covered Dutroux at this point, like just seeing that very strong gladio footprint of the paramilitary organizations and the kind of grooming process of these vital assets within that framework, and how they throughout their lives just follow this, convenient path, and just considering Omar Mateen, this is so similar in my opinion, right? He's beyond the Islamic seminary radicalization pipeline that was set up by Abu Taba, who's a former FBI agent and CIA asset, right? Which is just ridiculous after he's kind of sheep dipped and put into this prominent position in terms of kind of becoming the face of domestic Islamic terrorism within the United States, and having these training compounds, right, geographically placed in these very effective and efficient locations where, I mean, we've mentioned it many times, but when Sam brought up that New Mexico compound that was training young children to become school shooters, I mean, this is nothing new. And so seeing the sort of playbook, I'm interested to know more details about his family connections, because knowing Omar Mateen's father, Sadiq Mateen, who's basically running a CIA radio station, in the Middle East, it's just ridiculous at this point, especially when he showed up at a Hillary Clinton rally following the Pulse nightclub shooting, and even gets some sort of media spotlight and has an interview himself at the actual event after being perfectly placed into position in the screenshot, in the actual captured video from behind Hillary Clinton, right, with a sign. And he references how Donald Trump was essentially a danger to the republic, of something to that effect. It was just hilarious to see. But with this individual, what is it, Lockenwall? I don't know how to pronounce his name.
I just kind of every time make a joking over the top Muslim name, because it is kind of really a parody of a Muslim name, which I don't know. I mean, not that everything's planned, but it really is.
Manufactured personalities, my friend. These are like created personas to fit a narrative. How is that outside of the realm of possibility?
Well, back to these zero units, that's part of it. I mean, I don't know if they actually, I have no idea whether his name got changed, but part of it, we're getting this stupid immigration thing out of this, and it doesn't even make sense. For one, and like just CIA death squads, but then let's say somehow we move past that. You're like, okay, well, the idea is like, they go, he wasn't vetted, or this or that. You're like, no, they were vetted like a motherfucker. Mm-hmm. But then on top of that, then they actually, apparently it's pretty common for these zero units, in exchange, they will kind of like the French Foreign Legion is known to do, will kind of give you clean identities and assist you in moving to where you're going to go. So all this her-der immigration, it's like, dude, what the fuck? Like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, okay, technically yes, but like that's missing the forest for the trees.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Which is probably the point, because it feeds so perfectly into that of the culture war and escalating tension over the issue of immigration in itself, and the way it becomes this partisan football that is strategically used as a tool.
But it is funny though, just like even on an immigration level though, it's just that like, how are you going to make this some sort of politicized thing of like, well, we need to vet them better. Like, well, they were vetted. And you're like, well, then they shouldn't be able to come in. Like, well, that's part of the deal. So you're like, well, maybe you should address the death squads. I don't know what your fix, the Band-Aid you're trying to throw on over top of this. Because, I mean, dude, it's funny because I feel like a lot of conservatives will have no problem with this and move right past it and make the immigration argument, but it really is the same exact nonsense that the left has been doing with the gun control argument for forever, where something will happen and they'll go, we must ban AR-15s, and you're like, what? It'll be like a shotgun was used or something. You're like, how in any fucking way does that address this problem of what just happened? And you're like, we must ban AR-15s. You're like, it's the same kind of thing. If anything, if it's even more retarded version, honestly, because at least you could make some sort of, I guess, more of an abstract guns, something. I don't know. It just kind of is the same retardation.
Well, they're trying to, the partisan window they hope you view this issue through is what they're relying on. And I think that it's interesting to see because it's coming from both angles, as always, and to witness the Trump administration kind of deflect and claim this is all due to Biden's policies and his mishandling of the Afghanistan wind down, right, and withdrawal, but which by all means, obviously, was definitely mishandled. But at the same time, as you mentioned, that is not the point at the end of the day, and shouldn't be at all a part of any sort of conclusion that we come to, except for, I think it's interesting as far as this notion that allegedly the intelligence analyst, so take it for what it is, John Miller, he claimed that basically new information has come to light, right? And essentially it suggests that the Trump administration was far more to blame in terms of this residency that was achieved for Lochinwall, or however you pronounce his name, because apparently the DC shooter was granted asylum under Trump, and so obviously knowing he has significant ties to the CIA in general is clearly cause for concern. But at the same time, in no way should this be a partisan issue at any real level. I think this is just another great example of how they leverage this playbook to their own benefit and can really escalate and greenlight these domestic operations anytime they see fit. And imagine how simple it really is in terms of the power paradigm and the cabal in place to really misdirect the general public as far as just what we're focusing on and prioritizing in the media.
Yeah.
So I'm very much.
It feels like so naked though with this one. It's such like I put out a tweet the other or earlier this week that was like, guy is part of literal CIA death squad, and then I go online influencers, herder, immigration, and it just seems too naked. It reminds me of, I actually played on an outro on my morning dump like last week. There was this funny video of like this press conference thing, and he's like, and they're like, someone's asking, oh, about the Epstein, oh, he did it, and then like, and then he just moves on to the next question, like, wait, what, and then he's like, oh, we did it, yep, the emails, yep, those are, the birthday, but yep, and they're just like. And they're just like, yep, okay, anyways. And they're trying to just move on to the yes end. And then eventually they're just kind of like, his mouth, kind of. And that's kind of what this feels like, because it literally was from the jump. Like the initial, like because I think it was the Times that kind of jumped this off. And it was the first fucking paragraph mentions it almost as if it's an aside. That, oh yeah, he was part of a CIA death squad. And you're like, excuse me? The fuck? What are you mean?
Yeah, for real. Yeah, I mean, he was a member of a counterterrorism pursuit team, allegedly, right? They're trained to conduct night raids and clandestine missions all across Afghanistan during the war. And it's crazy how much of, as far as like allegedly the thousands of these members of these paramilitary organizations following the withdrawal essentially were a part of kind of taking over, right? Just as far as the geographical area of the main cities that would be of prominent value in terms of the strategic nature of controlling the area, obviously, and the major ports and airports and things of that nature. But the point being seeing is that they were still very much, in my opinion, employed by the intelligence apparatus. Now, obviously, you're not going to be able to control every last faction and group that is branching off of some of these, I don't know, more controlled assets. But at the same time, it's like I don't see any real, just as far as a realistic kind of a conceptual outcome in terms of us, not us, but obviously the Western powers that be would legitimately withdraw from having any sort of influence in the area. Like, that's just naive, in my opinion, if you haven't yet realized how effective and wide, just as far as the broad scale and scope of how much the West and the United States just foreign policy and military industrial complex affects the world at large, then you're not paying attention. It's the same thing with all of the escalation happening in the current moment with Venezuela and even Somali, right? With the immigration aspect of things and
they had a fucking special forces like mission a while ago that had something like 11 helicopters that were operational in it. Some insane, amount of fucking special operators they sent into a cave to kill like 5 fucking dudes. Like, this was after they hit their landmark fucking record of 100 airstrikes in a year, where the last was like, I think last was a 60. And this is funny enough, there was like, I think it was early in his administration, Trump was, bloviating about the fact about no more forever wars. We won't be like, oh, we don't need. And I think he even directly referenced Somalia as kind of this nonsensical place to be involved in type deal. Yeah. And yet, despite that, he has actually literally been the worst. And the person who was the worst on Somalia before this was him, and who had the previous record. And he's almost going to probably double his record from that time in the amount of airstrikes that he's dropped on that nation. And then even then, I'm really Dave DeCamps. I'm looking forward to where he starts digging into it. It actually starts tying into some wild stuff when you get the Somali stuff. It sounds like, oh, we shouldn't care, but the more you start digging into it, it looks like they just killed. Some of these things are probably politically motivated things on the behalf of the UAE. And the UAE is assisting Sudan, and I don't remember if they're the one committing a genocide or if it's just a mass slaughter, whatever the difference is. And it's like the UAE is directly supplying them. So it looks like we're, in a certain sense, perhaps assisting another genocide, slaughter, like a brutal, like that was the one that everyone, which I guess some people said this was debunked, but either way they killed a shitload of people. But there was supposedly that one aerial, like satellite view where you could see the blood on the ground or whatever. No. I think some people said that got debunked. But either way, they killed a shitload of people, and they are still killing a shitload of people, and it's a huge, like, barbaric conflict going on there, and UAE is kind of assisting it, which we're kind of like, but it's clearly an example of perhaps, like, it looked like we killed a political leader that was kind of against the UAE in that regard, and boom, he go dead. Yeah. And it literally is one of these things, like, the way it's portrayed when you get into the reporting is if he's just a guy driving about in his home country. And it's like, we think of these airstrikes, he's just a dude. And this is a political, well-respected guy. He was loved in his community from the reports, kind of, and he was working on, like, actually, it sounds like sort of philanthropic sort of stuff, and then just boom, just blown up.
He was a full-on rapist?
Yeah, he's a full-on rapist, dude. He's a Somali.
We should have known, man. We should have known.
He's a Somali. It's in their blood, dude.
Oh, my God.
He was one of the better rapists, though.
Oh, man. I will say, seeing Hegseth out there just beating the war drums and marching us into this conflict in Venezuela, and what he doubled down.
Oh, real quick. Sorry, I don't mean to dick. I know we didn't get to Venezuela, but I wanted to really highlight before we moved on past the DC, the prism effect of the strategy attention and how it hits on multiple things. We also then now have Bondi and others, openly just saying the quiet part out loud that we're going to, up the National Guard presence in as much cities as possible, I believe was the quote, or something along those lines. Those are pretty damn close to the actual quote. Literally kind of as many places as possible, as many cities as possible, because we really need them. Which it's ironically, it's like that guy, those people wouldn't have been shot had they not been there. So it's like, not that obviously doesn't make it okay that he did it, but it's kind of like, to some extent, it's like, what do you mean? We need more how is this going to help? I mean, if anything, it's like he was looking for a target, and this was some sort of political target, and so you're giving more political targets.
You gave them the target. That was essentially it. I would imagine the motive behind it, if this is any sort of, it just outside of the kind of strategic standpoint of an operation, I would think the main motive that they would want the public to sort of interpret this as in terms of the motive behind the attack would be because they are essentially in DC and stationed in order to implement and effectively, achieve the immigration policy of the current administration, which in many ways is entirely the issue for especially the left side of the paradigm. And so that alone really reinforces every last shred of their ideological captured psychological state of mind, considering this issue just in general. And with this, but yeah, just to kind of finish a few of the details that I found from the New York Times piece on this individual perpetrator. He was assigned to the 03 unit, according to an Afghan intelligence official. And speaking on condition of anonymity, of course, because he wasn't allowed to comment publicly on the issue, the unit was responsible for operations around the southern province of Kandahar and beyond. Though the unit was based in the south, much of its leadership and members, like Mr. Lakhanwal, were from Afghanistan's east. After the Taliban took over Afghanistan, many of the unit members were evacuated with the United States' help, including its last commander, and resettled in the Seattle area. So that's another aspect, obviously, of the immigration avenue and sort of, attempted propagandistic nature that's tied in with this event. And the 0 units were largely recruited, trained, and equipped by the CIA, which oversaw this entire operation. This is all according to the Human Rights Watch, allegedly, but it was U.S. Special Operations Forces, working alongside the CIA, who also provided the units with ground support and intelligence during their operations. So this is we're directly kind of facilitating this operation and also guiding them into the areas we would like them to obviously commit these heinous war crimes, which is exactly what they're all of these death squads and these official units that were sponsored by the CIA are legitimately responsible for the worst war crimes that have been sort of recorded during the conflict, which is beyond, of course, the mercenaries, like the Blackwater kind of aspect of things. Of like, I forget the individual unit that actually just kind of they allegedly they sort of went off of the original plan, operationally speaking, and just kind of saw red and engaged in bloodlust and just essentially began to take over small tribal areas and rape the women and essentially, just create stables of sex slaves and do whatever they saw fit in the time and
in war-torn regions.
Nature of war, exactly. But yeah, once again, it's like when you see so many examples of Blackwater mercenaries being dropped in by special forces, intelligence helicopters that are sort of dropping them into these hot red zones. Conflict zones, and then they're the individuals who take over the on-the-ground operational strategic sort of playbook. They're in charge of the leadership on the ground in terms of that. They allegedly took, let's just say, they had a higher. What's the term when you're more respected as far as the sort of their ranking and as far as how it was operationally implemented on the ground? They would take the reins in terms of conducting the on the ground movements.
So they were operational levels. You're trying to express the operational level is what you're saying.
Yeah,
no, operational is the ground. No, I'm confused.
I'm just saying they're over the
level,
heads of the actual members of military leadership, right? For the United States military, they would essentially just take a back seat to the mercenaries and the Blackwater contractors, and that alone always kind of blew me away, right? Just as far as, because they always did seem to provide the plausible deniability aspect of not being brought up on war crimes following the conflict in itself, because they weren't necessarily answering to the same what's the name of the actual as far as like when you're brought up in a tribunal, military tribunal following
court martial.
Yes. You won't necessarily be court-martialed because you're not held to the same standard. It's very strange how they find themselves in this convenient position, right, in terms of that playing out in these conflicts. So I'm just not at all surprised that obviously some sort of individual perpetrator such as this is tied directly into these same black budget operations that have been conducted, under unbeknownst to the vast majority for generations.
Like Paul D says here, like Afghanistan Phoenix program. That is kind of like, I guess it almost feels dumb to even say it because it's so obvious, but it's like, oh, it all comes back to Gladio because if you look at this for like at a face level of what these are, these zero units, how are these any different than the stay behind units? That's all. I mean, it's just different words, just different verbiage. I mean, obviously that's Gladio and not Phoenix, but Gladio, Phoenix, Condor. I know, throw in some other ones. What's the one that we didn't end up doing over in the States? But anyways, they're all kind of just different flavors of the same thing. Obviously, Phoenix as well. And then we have the zero units over in Afghanistan. So I mean, it is. It's hard not to notice too, with the Bachabazi thing. It is pretty common. These younger and kind of these impressionable type of We've delved into the that element, so it is kind of curious to see it peeking through a little bit.
Exactly, and I will say the last point just being that the CIA, according to Afghan officials, were responsible for paying their salaries during that entire period of time. So that is very strange, and it does reinforce and kind of add a little bit more corroborative evidence, and in terms of this being very much just a consequence of these just regime change operations, right? And the stay behind networks that have not in any way just they've not lost their vital kind of just in terms of how just valuable, right, that strategic nature of the playbook in itself has become. And
think about it right now. It's like naked. Like I said, it's literally, I mean, think about the backdrop of everything going on as this goes on and the inevitable, they've been trying to force this. And like, actually, it seems like they actually had, the funny thing is they had the mandate for immigration when this stuff started. A lot of people really wanted it. And it feels like it's dropping off. And as they're just losing popularity, like just completely plummeting favorability numbers, and just the Epstein thing, everything just crashing around this administration. And the one thing they keep trying to force through, and they had a mandate from the beginning, and then once again another seemed like an inept attempt, although seems like probably a little bit of a desperate attempt is why I think perhaps, or I don't know, maybe they're just in the point where they're pissing in our face and we're just like we're at the phase where they're like, no, we're doing it, and the next phase is we're doing it and it's good, So I don't know. I mean, they're getting there. CIA death squads were doing it, and we're just kind of like almost talking past it. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's just kind of crazy to behold, really.
Yeah, it's the nature of PSYOP season at this point, man. Like, it does feel like we're just surrounded by limited hangouts, and there's another just overwhelming and extraordinary scandal that takes the spotlight on any given day, and it really doesn't take more than 48 hours for people in the general public to just sort of lose interest, and that in itself is always relied upon in terms of the deliberate deception playing out. But as far as
real quick, phone lines are open, 1-833-722-3323. That's 1-833-722-DEAD. Call in. You got any questions? You got any stories? I mean, try to keep it a little bit on theme. I don't know. Don't be telling us about your fucking your banana bread or something. But I don't know, for the most part, whatever. Hop on. I've been weird. If anyone wants to talk about Akash Singh, I know it's not at all related to parapolitics, but I don't know why. I'm just really into black reaction videos of this one Indian dude's wife right now. It is hilarious. Anyone in the chat that knows what Go look it up. You're in for a blast. And if you have a wife, you just give her a hug and you go, I love you. You're great. Because after seeing this woman, you'll go, God damn, I dodged a bullet with women. But yeah, anyways, call in, guys. We'll get back to some serious topics. But yeah, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. Just want to let people know they can call in and talk to us. And and then after the intermission, for the non-poors, our patrons, they can come on and join on a video chat, kind of like me and Austin are right now. They can field calls with us, whatever, hang out. The second half of the show is far more audience involvement. But yeah, call in, talk to us. But go on, Austin.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting to see the kind of propagandistic bluster from, right, just as far as our escalating foreign policy is concerned, and in the face of that being Hegseth himself sitting down with Trump and obviously doubling down on these narco terrorist strikes of these right, and he legitimately said we've only just begun putting narco terrorists at the bottom of the ocean. And he said we've had a bit of a pause. It's hard to find boats to strike right now. And Trump as well says basically we have to attack drug traffickers on land. If we have to, we will. Right. And so this is just, again, he himself mentioned launching bomb strikes on a few different South American countries. So I don't think this is only going to be just, obviously affecting Venezuela alone, but regime change operation full swing. Right.
Yeah. The reports are that supposedly there was a phone call before with Trump. Obviously, sources say type deal, but it seems to match up with the vibe here. And supposedly, according to him, he said the only thing that would really be good is he left, and he left now. And he gave him like a week, and I think that was on Friday, is my understanding. So that's kind of where we're seeing these things turn up. But I don't know. But with some of these war crime accusations, which to some extent, I think this is going to be a nothing ever happens situation. But at the very least, even with some of these nothing ever happens, there's political pressure, and this causes controversy. Like, do I think Hegseth or Admiral Bradley, I believe the guy below it, or whoever, I don't believe any of them are probably going to actually see charges for war crimes, but this could really cause an issue. I think it was Tim Kaine, or I don't forget his first name. He's getting ready to push through another War Powers Resolution Act for this Venezuela stuff. And the last one, I think, was 5149, and even then, the only reason that went through is because there were apparently the Trump administration was behind the scenes assuaging the people that, like, the Republicans are like, hey, we'll promise we're not doing anything right now, like, don't, because they just didn't want to have this sort of controversy or whatever, these Republicans turning on them type deal. And I guess there's some murmurs that they're feeling a little bit betrayed that now they're doing this despite telling that before. And it was only like just two people. And there's been, for those who pay attention to the political world, there's been a lot of shakeup recently. The Republicans have lost a lot of power. And there's the political situation between the last vote on this about the War Powers resolution or whatever. It's been a huge political change. I believe it's been like over 20 points favorability drop in the meantime. So it's like, I don't know though. I mean, I don't know how this plays out. I mean, every sign seems to point that they were going to do it, but at the same time, you're like, I just don't even know how politically they stand this. But I mean, it's constantly every day with this administration seems like something absolutely insane, and you're just like, we're doing this, and it is this thing where you're like, it almost feels like in a few months we're gonna go, we're molesting children, and no, it's good find some way to justify it. I don't know. What would you prefer them be in the street? Like what?
Oh my God!
Like that'll be the argument. Like, hey, how else are they gonna make a good paying? How much are they gonna bring money home to mama? Like, their families living on the streets.
Right. It sounds ridiculous, but that is legitimately how far it feels like the concept of allowable opinion is being pushed in the wrong direction. And I will say that just in terms of a Trump meeting with his top advisors regarding a legitimate regime change in Venezuela, I mean, that in itself is I think they're far more likely to sort of conduct this in the way that the Obama administration kind of overthrew Gaddafi and engaged in the Libyan conflict, because it just makes more sense to utilize these the moderate rebels in that case, obviously, and Hillary Clinton's infamous bank shot.
I think it'll be a sitting around waiting for him to make a mistake, and that way they can act on it. They've already made or they're working on, or I don't know if they've actually been set in stone yet, but apparently they're already working on allocations that will run all the way through the end of Trump's term for kind of staging in that area. So, which is unsurprising. So it would make sense to kind of drag him into a conflict. Jacob's here, so I'm assuming we have a caller. Let's go ahead and hear from him. You're on with Austin and Jose on Already Dead. Who are you, and who's your daddy, and what are you calling about?
Hey, yo, what's up? My name is Quasi. How y'all doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. Good talking with you guys. I actually just found out about y'all podcast. Well, Underclassmen. I didn't even know about Are You Dead, to be real. I seen the Underclassmen, and I was listening to the Colonial Dignitas.
Oh yeah, Colonial Dignidad. Yeah.
Put me on. I was watching a video from Control All History. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that.
Good
YouTube
channel.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he was doing something about cloning and stuff like that, and Erica Kirk and stuff like that. And somebody commented about the Colonial Dignitas, and I'm like always reading comments, so I'm like, let me go listen to that. And I was just blown away. This man Austin goes in on the freaking research and stuff like that.
Thank you, bro.
I was like, all right. Then I'm like, let me listen to some more. And I like how you guys keep it up to date and keep it lighthearted. Like, I really like you, Jose. Y'all both seem pretty authentic. And then I noticed you spoke about the influencer industrial complex. And
Sure.
I really think that's really heavy. Like, that's a really, because we already know people are getting paid $7,000, $10,000, or even more. Bigger podcasts, we don't even know how much.
To be fair, Israel does have a right to defend itself. So.
Stop it.
It's not even just Israel. It's even like probably companies like Coca-Cola, and stuff like that pay people to even keep a certain, like, don't go left, or you're gonna lose out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I like you guys' authenticity, and I really respect that, to be honest, because this world is.
Did we lose you, caller?
We might have lost him.
Hey, we got the best parts. Him talking about how great we are.
No, he was just starting to cook. I think he's back. All right, you there, brother?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. We can hear you now. You cut out right when you were just saying how basically, this world, you were addressing the state of the world in the moment in terms of the influencer industrial complex and the level of.
It's just a stage. Like, I don't know, people can't realize that, and people are so easily like tricked.
Right.
To be honest with you, by posts even happens to me. I've been like seeing certain posts, and I'll research it, and there'll be like a satirical article from like years ago, or it'll be AI image, and the engagement, people are just posting things just for engagement.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not wrong at all. And beyond that, I think the more operational, strategic standpoint of it all is sort of, as I said last week, setting the table in order to control the narrative and misdirect the public into embracing a false conclusion and really coming away with the wrong interpretation of things.
That's why I listen to like a lot of old school, like I listen to old lectures on YouTube. I don't even try to like. I just listen to old lectures by like Neil Postman, and I've been interested in like Stokely Carmichael's, Steve Coakley, and I listened to one recently, Norman Dodd, he went in. He was talking about some crazy shit about like the Rockefeller Foundation hired, basically they got historians, like 20 historians, to basically set the narrative about history.
Yep.
To alter history in a certain way by like the Guggenheim Foundation, and they all linked up with the American History Association. It was just crazy to me that like people going to college and are willing to, I don't know if they just getting tricked at that certain point, but they take the trip out to the UK and they get like basically briefs on how they're gonna talk about history.
Yeah.
Well, you brought up the colleges, and here's a good little thing to think about. Larry Summers, that was the head of Harvard. That was one of Epstein's best buddies. There's all sorts of emails that have been coming out recently from them, and one of them in there, and this will be obviously a paraphrase, but one of the emails, I believe, going back and forth to Epstein, or maybe this is something from somewhere else, but there's a quote of him saying this, whether I believe it was in his Epstein emails, essentially saying that there are insiders and there are outsiders, and the outsiders, the outsiders get the freedom to speak their mind, but they don't get to get that inside information, and they don't get to be the ones who get to, in their opinion, shift culture or make big decisions. Whereas when you're the insider, the trade-off is that you never, ever, ever turn on the insiders, and you don't share inside information with the outsiders. And This is Larry Summers, the head of Harvard, which is like what Harvard and Yale, just like the notable ones for Skull and Bones, which, this is where we get all the, it gets into the wild secret society stuff there. So, yeah, but go ahead. Sorry.
I don't know how they let Skull and Bones continue to even operate. It's like just knowing like what they've done. If people actually do research on Skull and Bones, how do they even let them operate on the college campus is just crazy to me in general, to be honest. And like that whole Epstein shit, I don't hear nobody talking about how Steve Bannon is like Epstein's boy, and like basically Epstein's like publicist.
Yeah, his PR dog. Yeah. That he frames it as a documentary. He frames it as a documentary he's working on, but you kind of see behind the scenes emails, and it really was seeming like, I don't know if maybe they made a documentary later, but it was coaching for a PR type thing. So this was trying to put a positive spin on him at that time to prepare for kind of his coming out, inevitable coming out. But yeah, go on.
It's just nuts to me how like, why are people not pressing Bannon about what he really knows about Epstein?
Yeah, and he's got dozens of hours of recorded stuff.
He's a predator, and like people in Congress, people are going against it. Like anybody in Congress going against that should be out of Congress. You're protecting predators at the end of the day. It wasn't just Epstein. He was basically working to fucking honeypot people. So you're protecting predators, and it's like, I don't understand. That should be the number one thing that we should be trying to stop, especially if they're part of a big company like the top 500 companies, 50 companies, whatever, and they're fucking being predators. You should knock them down. I don't understand that. It is baffling.
Yeah. We got to be careful with that too, though, because I'm always concerned. Anytime revolutions occur, they're almost always controlled. I don't know necessarily where Tucker's a glowy or not, but I've seen him Fed posting pretty hard. But at the same time, it's somewhat understandable. So it is it's this double-edged sword where I get it. When we're literally talking about child trafficking rings at the highest level, we have behind-the-scenes emails coming out from Epstein, manipulating world affairs at the highest level, interacting with prime ministers of Israel, arranging meetings with them for Rothschilds and stuff. And it's just absolutely astounding that we see these things just happening in plain view. And it's this idea of like, I can totally get why some people might get a little bit might long for a different wall after seeing so many people hugging and kissing one wall. But at the same time, you have to be careful with that, because those the wall always seems to be used against you, regardless of which wall it is, it seems. For those who get my drift, I'm trying not to Fed post too hard.
No, I get what you mean. I'm just saying, like, and they're going to release what to us? Redacted files? And we're like, all right, so you guys got the files unredacted. So you guys know the names of the people doing such and such. So are y'all going after them? Are you just trying to release something to us so we're happy? Or are you guys actually going after the people? Because you have the files that are not even redacted. So you know the names of the people in those files. So are you guys working on something, a case against these companies or these people? Or is it just nobody's in that? Nobody of substance is in those files. So that's why only Epstein's been arrested.
For sure. Austin, I mean, do you got anything else for us, caller? Otherwise, I think we're about near intermission time. We'd love to have you call in again. If you have anything else, any last thoughts, or if you want to throw a question in there, we'd love to hear it. But otherwise, we'll see you next time you call in.
No, I just have respect for y'all guys. Y'all keep it up and keep doing y'all thing.
Appreciate it, brother. Call in again sometimes. Yeah, appreciate it. I love it. People telling us how great we are. Keep doing that. We'll let you go on forever if you guys keep doing that. But appreciate it. Call in, people. Austin, you got any final thoughts? I guess now would probably be perfect transition to intermission, then jump back in, unless you have something else you want to squeeze in before we go to intermission. I don't really see any point in jumping anything else in the meantime.
Right. I just, to kind of further reinforce what he was saying about the world as a stage, it always brings me back to the episode I did on the Olympians and the Committee of 300 and the Club of Rome, which just perfectly, kind of brings to the surface the level of social engineering, and as we've mentioned so many times, the influence operation from Tavistock that I think has perfectly sort of laid the groundwork for the psychological interpretation of the power paradigm for the lower plebs and the peasant class to essentially embrace his reality. And so anytime we have a chance, right, to dig a little below that surface and peek behind that curtain and see the true power brokers at play and how they kind of facilitate this pageantry and this what effectively is political theater at such a very efficient level. I think we should always remind ourselves there is a well-hidden alternate version of history where the inauthentic yet effective emotional appeals of the political actors, and the way I described it in my episode was they were tasked with doing the bidding of special interest groups who inherently obstruct the natural order of society, no longer distract us from the strategic goals of an international council of elites. This is what we have to attempt to achieve, formed with the aspirations of organizing politics, commerce, banking, media, and the military for centralized global efforts. And so the Cini, the Mount Pelerin Society and the Cini Foundation and all of these, the Trilateral Commission, obviously, that would come to fruition following the level of kind of covert and clandestine influence of the East India Trading Company that provided all of these barons and these major prominent personalities to have the means to really well systematically entrench these institutions that represent all that is wrong in global society and how power functions in modern day, and none of this is anything but a sort of in my opinion an agenda of deliberate degeneration, and it's a malignant, self-serving agenda, and it's something that we always have to attempt to draw that curtain back and reveal to at least as best we can. And in doing so, we see the organizations of the Black Rocks and these various groups that clearly have far too much of a prominent footprint. Palantir and Maven, right, just what are they doing right now in Gaza as far as Trump's reconstruction plan? I mean, they're entirely positioning themselves to reap financial benefits and rewards from this terrible, heinous genocide that has taken place on the back of our taxpayer dollars. So, yeah, and the one thing I have left to say is I saw Monica Perez tweet earlier about the Venezuelan conflict and these just ridiculous narco-terrorist drug boats that are allegedly being sunk, saving 25,000 lives, right, with each of these boats allegedly, is what the United States the current administration is trying to claim by these ridiculous data sets. But she herself claimed fewer than 18,000 people in the U.S. die of cocaine overdoses each year. So I wonder how they're coming to that number, because at face value, as always, it feels like just another convenient tool to help escalate the emotional, kind of keep you in that ideological fervor. And also make sure that your vision is blurred as far as you being able to properly assess these conflicts and the true nature of the economic hitmen and the various layers of the kind of the consequential nature of the reward following the conflict in itself and how it's exploited to such an extent. And the level of sinister kind of covert influence is never properly acknowledged and given the credit it's truly due, in my opinion, as far as escalating all of these conflicts and orchestrating them to kind of be greenlit in the perfect moment. So anyway, that's all I have left, really.
Hell yeah, brother. We'll see you guys in a handful of minutes. We'll be back. Go get a drink. Go grab some snacks. Go take a leak. Go do what you got to do. We'll see you back here in a few. And if you're a patron, get ready. Come on up. Ask us some questions or call in too. You don't have to be paying to interact in the second half of the show, but we will also be bringing on patrons. So you get a little bit more of an experience if you're paying. But you can still call in. Call in at the number. Talk to us. We'll see you all in a bit.
Whatever is necessary to do, you do it. When somebody needs to be killed, there's no wrong. You do it. And then you move on. And you kill whoever gets in your way. This is us. If we were unarmed, we would chew their necks off. Anything, claw their eyes out. And they know it. Anybody that has ever gone against us, or anybody that would ever step in front of us, will be taken care of.
Persons, including actress Sharon Tate, were found dead at the home of Miss Tate and her husband, screen director Roman Polanski. In all my years, I have never seen anything like this before.
One of the first questions they'll ask is, what do you do? And so I say, I live. And they say, no, I mean, do you work or what? And I say, no, I just live. And they say, well, you must do something, because their whole orientation is towards job, occupation. This is their whole life. Money.
We back. We had some technical difficulties, but we made it work. By we, I mean Jacob.
Thanks, Jacob.
Yeah, appreciate that. But hey, whatever. Saying it's a rookie mistake in the chat, the private chat. It's okay. Hey, it's more than I can do. I don't even know how the hell you even did that. So I'm impressed. So that's all that matters. By the way, reminder, you can call in. The patrons can as well. They can come in as a video up call. So feel free to join on. I know John Black, I see you back there. You've talked about the past. You might have some religious conspiratorial talk to be had. I might be doing a Martianism episode here soon, which is, I guess, kind of like Gnosticism. So, but yeah, maybe you might have something to add to that. But anyways, we got plenty other things to talk about. What do you want to hit, Austin? I know there was a few. I always make a few little notes. I don't know, Mangione. You want to talk about walls, TPUSA. We got pedophiles in Indiana and all over the place. I mean, take your pick. The TPUSA one sounded pretty interesting to me. I haven't looked at that yet. So,
it is.
That'd be where I'm leaning towards.
It's very strange, to say the least, in terms of just the high-level leadership involved with the organization. Essentially, we're talking around 200 individuals who have been accused in regard to connecting back to the Turning Point USA organization itself for essentially engaging in either voter fraud during the previous election, which I found to be interesting. One of which was involved with kind of corruption in that political avenue, but at the same time, you also have these child sex crimes that are effectively tied in with members of Turning Point, and so one of which even I saw a thread on Twitter. And basically, there's an entire breakdown of a lot of these kind of criminal cases that were tied in with leadership, members of leadership, and basically even one in which it happened in 2025, where a 10-year-old, his family sued basically a youth Bible leader in Louisiana. who was drugging and assaulting young boys in his youth ministry. And one was this 10-year-old boy who effectively sued him in 2025 for groping him during Bible study. And that in itself, obviously, is a huge red flag. But then you have just a litany of other cases, right? Multiple child molestation convictions tied in with Turning Point USA advisors who essentially were recruiting other members of leadership for the organization. And it looks like many different criminal suits and civil lawsuits are tied in with this. And as I mentioned, over 200 cases and that ties in Turning Point specifically. So I wonder, obviously, how many different religious organizations would this apply to? I would imagine that there's kind of rampant child sex crimes involved in many of these religious institutions. Only saying, it's not any sort of criticism on the religion itself, but I think the more organized an institution becomes, the more rampant you see this sort of criminal behavior. And so I'm not really that shocked, but it does seem as if many of these individuals were kind of let off, right? So you have basically you have a few different examples of what seems to be cover-ups, right? And I know that is my life, my friend. I always find myself back discussing certain layers of what seems to be a criminal networks exploiting young children, which it's hard not to prioritize those stories as they fall into your lap, unfortunately, with how relevant it seems in the current environment. And finally, people are beginning to realize that pedophile occupied governments and this sort of pedophocracy, as Dave McGowan would sort of reference it as, it is alive and well and living in DC. Let's just put it that way, right? And in no way do I see any of the individuals of prominent power positions kind of stepping in and disrupting the flow of these criminal organizations and the sadistic child sex enterprise. But anyway, what do you have there?
Well, you're mentioning these child trafficking, these accusations and the like, and here's raw story: MAGA official and ex-Turning Point employee accused of kidnapping 14-year-old. Now, what this is a lawsuit against TPUSA employee Jeanette Garcia, alleging that she, a council member in Avondale, Arizona, is accused of trying to bribe an employee for sex and kidnapping his daughter after he declined, which that does sound crazy. And a lawsuit which was filed by two anonymous plaintiffs, Father John Doe and minor Jane Doe, filed on November 14th, names her of drunkenly propositioning a male coworker to have sex with, and when he rebuffed her, briefly kidnapping his 14-year-old daughter, which I believe briefly kidnapping might mean something else, since it's a 14-year-old. May not mean like literally like fucking get in the car, bitch, or some shit. It may have just been that you took the 14-year-old, whether or not it was like, I guess the idea is that like you're taking someone's kid. Like I have guardianship. You don't get to do that.
No parental consent, I would imagine.
But now this comes full circle. Here's Dana Duda. She asks, does this not look like the same woman? Now you look at this photo. This is a TPUSA. Now look at this, and it'll come more evident where I'm getting at right now. You see this photo on the right. That's her now. This other chick on the left. And maybe these are different women, but by God, do they not look very, very much alike? And this is a little spooky. The nose really makes it. I mean, I will say there's a little bit of a different dimple in their chin now that I'm looking, but they are dressed up differently. Well, look at this. Who is actually this? Dana Duda also shared here pictures of that photo. Comes from a picture of Candace Owens' dad with that woman.
Oh my God, dude! What the hell?
Once again, we didn't know it's this woman, but it's a woman who looks almost exactly like her. And this is also they also show, she's saying they both run the same circles because this is in Arizona, so it matches up that this lady is in Arizona, and the dad's kind of runs in that same circle. And then also, he's also showing here that, apparently, not only that, but apparently like Officer Tatum was at the wedding with this dad, and which is an important point because there's photos of the dad at the wedding. And he's like some of the lore from Candace is supposedly that he wasn't really involved in her life. So it's like, yet he's the one walking her down the aisle. It seems bizarre, and there's all these photos have come out. So
right, and you pair this with the Romanian child sex trafficking scandal that one Erica Kirk is implicated in, as far as her modeling organization and recruiting, some of these victims. It seems like, maybe this is just proof positive in a certain way that at the very least it adds credibility to the notion that this could have been some sort of let's just say a manufactured organization to provide cover for as typically, achieving the influence operation a priority, but also I think right. And when you have these organizations that can effectively cross international borders and without having too much, I don't know, just as far as attention drawn to them in terms of them potentially being a compromised asset of the intelligence apparatus. Now, I would imagine you have rivaling counterintelligence operations that understand these methods very well, that would attempt to sort of draw that distinction. But at the same point, it's like this has been very much embedded and entrenched and in place for quite some time, generations, utilizing these religious institutions or even smaller religious organizations for this exact same kind of just strategic tool in a way to one, procure victims, but also kind of provide them with the plausible deniability factor, which is always important as far as just insulating themselves from any real accountability just
Shy
again.
good. Oh, sorry, Shy, glad to have you with us, brother. We got Jacob. It's not Jacob, but John Black. I mentioned a moment ago. He won't be joining us, but he did say the Martianites are faggots. So, so for the other patron who's going to tell me about it here soon, that's what he had to say. Shy, you seem like a guy a little bit in touch with some of the weird woo-woo, different sects of Christianity, this and that. What are your thoughts on the Martianites? Should I do an episode on them? Are they interesting? What are your thoughts?
I'm not even with those. Are you pronouncing it right? Or are you talking about like the?
I have no idea. I'd assume so. Marcionite or Martianite.
What is it?
Marcionite. I don't know.
Yes, the Martians.
Oh, Martians. Okay, whatever.
I guess that might be correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I don't know. That's a little deep.
We're going there.
Did you guys hear about
that route right now?
Did you guys see the reports about those two men from Texas who planned to it was basically that Haitian island sex slave operation that they were trying to basically implement after receiving military training and things of that nature, and recruiting all these homeless people to essentially invade a Haitian island.
Yeah,
and then render
1,000 people on it. They must have had some book from like the 50s or something.
Mm-hmm.
Book or some stupid shit. I don't know that.
I was really wondering though, like just as far as the extent of their military backgrounds, as far as if they had any real connection to I don't know, even not saying the JCs. What was Tyler Robinson effectively implicated as being at least hanging out with all these individual kids who were a part of some young junior military program that would kind of help groom them into becoming some sort of just entering the armed forces, but at a higher level. Yeah, Tyler Robinson was hanging around with these people.
So ROTC, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so all right. So that's what you meant to say. Okay, JROTC.
That was it.
All right. Okay.
So he wasn't directly a member of the junior ROTC program in the area, but he hung out with all the kids who were, right? So that alone was kind of like, okay, well, how affiliated was he, at a certain point? And it's hard to, I think it's at least worthwhile in pointing out, but they were recruiting homeless people to facilitate an armed coup d'etat of a Haitian island, Murder all the men.
Oh, good. Can I just get some money for food?
Man, can we leave Haiti alone? Like, let's just give them a break. They've already been kind of the victims of the Clinton Foundation for far too long, and the Laura Silsby scandal obviously being one of the best examples, where Clinton just flies over and rescues her from getting obviously apprehended by the authorities while trying to traffic. What was it? I forget. It was a lot. I forget the exact number, though, but it was a significant number in regards to the amount of Haitian children she was trying to illegally and unlawfully traffic over the border. 33. Don't you dare tell me that. Oh, my God. It never stops.
Yeah, they had to kick one off at the one before they left the tarmac. 34, kick that one off. We'll get them on the next one.
Oh my God,
33.
That is hilarious. That's the same thing. I'm honestly very excited to do really commit to my next solo project, because I still think that just John Wayne Gacy and the 33 victims just is too much. I think he was sort of a ritualistic sacrifice of hanging him out to dry even. And I don't know how much that applies or makes sense in the occult context, but it does feel like there's a layered symbolic nature to it. And why wouldn't there be, as far as the organization he was affiliated with? But
I mean, when you look into some of the shoe units and some of the weird glowy and how those things move, and then we hear things about like Epstein and the kind of sweetheart deals he got, it does kind of make you wonder. Like, I don't know, I'm not in the prison where these fucking high profile whatever the fuck serial killers or whatever. I don't know how there's all these when you read Program to Kill, was it Kemper, or maybe there's some other people who are like had supposedly got in and out of jail like all the time, just kind of almost as if they're just kind of letting them out to kind of stroll out and just kind of like run of the place. So
they would actually transfer them to a psychological institution of some kind, and then I think they received further training. And whether it's always like psych unit, over and over and over again. Yeah. And then they get out early and they commit another, litany of crimes that seems to be outside of any normal human being's capability in terms of just their ethical. I don't know. I think it's very, it's the playing off the duality in terms of the layered programming they receive. And I do think they're very unique. Kemper killed his grandparents at like 15. Yeah, after he was a member of the JCs with John Wayne Gacy, which is just ridiculous, right? Junior Chamber of Commerce, and I think he was actually the leader of his chapter, which it makes sense. President, I guess, is what they called them. But and then he.
I don't know why this makes me think of. I guess maybe a little bit of a plug too. What is it? I think part 7 we're getting ready to do. I think on Thursday behind the paywall of our Dutroux series, and we've already decided where we're going, the angle we're going with this next episode, and we still haven't even gotten to where most people start. We're not even most people. We're like the respectable like people who are doing like deep dives where they start like a good deal before where most people start. We haven't even gone to that stuff yet. Like we're already setting the stage. But this next episode, we're talking about the Pizza Connection, which is like kind of roughly the Sicilian like mob, like a little bit of the French mob, and this is kind of where they were running heroin out of pizza shops. And there also seems to perhaps be almost a child angle to this, because it's also often when we see these spooky networks that are at the highest levels that will be like, oh, it's drug trafficking. You're like, oh, is that it? I mean, what else is going on? Like,
it's a very good cover. Like,
hell yeah, it is.
Well, they're getting banged. It's not even a cover. It's just a bang for their buck. It's like they're doing all of it, and then you just do the one. You're like, oh, but you get busted for all of it, and you go, oh, instead of getting busted for all of it, you're like, oh, you just got busted for drug dealing, and
right. But after you see that playbook sort of in action in the Columbine narrative, as far as just the subway shop murders, 10 months following the massacre and less than 2 blocks from Columbine itself, and these students who survived are murdered at around 1 a.m. or whatever, right? And essentially no motive, no perpetrator is effectively, identified, and but yet local investigators who are on the case and investigating 50 additional related, what they say were unrelated cases, actually, seem to have provided them with tips that pointed out that this Subway shop had been a long-standing kind of just as far as the business itself, it was being utilized in a drug trafficking network and a drug trafficking operation in the area. And so that alone, I just thought obviously should apply if at least it makes it far more credible, in my opinion, and plausible that Blackjack Pizza was very much a part of that same sort of strategic outcome. And why wouldn't it be? You know what I mean? And so I just I think that seeing how effective the plotting and the dry ice bombs being essentially triggered in the bathroom and all the different things that occurred with the Trenchcoat Mafia meeting at the Blackjack Pizza restaurant. I don't see how they don't have these geographical tools in place with certain small level enterprises that will facilitate this agenda right on the ground in terms of having some sort of operational meeting place, and that alone is I think important for everyone to know that it still is very active in terms of the way that they would hope to achieve much of these domestic operations. But with the point that I was making, though, with this Haitian conspiracy to create, essentially, they were going to invade and perform an armed coup d'état, but murder all the men and turn the women and children into their sex slaves. Right. So just understanding that this is a 21-year-old and a 20-year-old from Texas who were indicted on these charges and kind of implicated in this is an island with around 87,000 people that
a lot of sex slaves.
40,000.
That's a shitload of sex slaves, man.
You know, time. Take that one. I'll take that one.
It's so terrible, but yeah. So these dudes, though, one of them, Weisenberg, I guess, was one of them. So keep that in mind. I swear. So Weisenberg from North Texas, he attended the Fire Academy in Rockwall, Texas, in August of 2024, and learned command and control protocols, according to the indictment. And he failed out of the Fire Academy, though.
I thought the command and control protocols are downloaded in them at birth.
Yeah, honestly. But yeah, then he goes to Thailand. I don't know, like one Luigi Mangione and some of these strange glowing spooks and at least I would say patsies who follow this path, into I will forever be unable to kind of separate the story of Luigi after being attacked by the 7 Thailand ladyboys, decides to go off on his own on a quest to all of these shooting ranges leading up to the actual event.
You got attacked by 7 ladyboys.
I guess you're probably right. But still, I'm just like, all I thought of was Sirhan. Every time that comes up, I think Sirhan, targets in his eyes and feeling as if he were at the shooting range as many times before in the past, when I believe he was probably in a dissociative state, reinforcing those layers of programming at the shooting range as well. So I don't think that, this wouldn't at all be plausible in terms of Luigi's path as well. You know what I mean? And
I mean, that is a commonplace Thailand. It's like, I know that's one of the spots. I forget, is it La Bahouche? I forget. Maybe not. I forget which specific gendarmerie it is. But one of the more corrupt ones that gets we'll have to at some point cover him, maybe. I mean, there's so many crazy little tangents to Dutroux affair, but there is this one guy who... It might be, you know what I'm getting at, where he ends up in Thailand, like in the end, like he's just kind of chilling in Thailand now. I think he ended up getting in trouble about something silly a while back, some sort of white collar something or other, but he was like hobnobbing with Thailand royalty out there as a retired disgraced gendarmerie, which is like a cop, like some you know what I mean, like it's like
it's like an FBI agent basically. Yeah,
and he's just chilling with a royal, just kind of makes you wonder what the fuck.
But what's insane about this whole plot, though? They were not recruiting Haitian homeless people. They're recruiting the homeless from Washington, D.C. why on earth would that be a part of the plot? You know, it just doesn't even make sense. They're living outside of the country at this point. You know,
I say we clear out DC and let the homeless and the guard just fight, like kind of like a kaiju battle, just like let them fight, you know, just the guard versus the homeless. I'm cool with that. Like the other day on the morning show, I like to do like a fun thing. I covered the that viral influencer with the giving them machetes, and I was like, okay, I get it. It's hilarious in a certain abstract sense, but like this is going to affect homeless people. But now, or not homeless, but like innocent people. Like if there was some like enclave or some area where it was like only homeless people and you knew they couldn't get out of there, you know, some sort of homeless zoo, like, and you were just tossing machetes over, like whatever, you know, like you're not hitting innocent people. It's just, you know, good fun. But so in this scenario though, if we could just like wall off DC and just chuck machetes over it, I think we have a winning plan right here.
I'm open to it, man.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes. Thin the herd in terms of the just as far as the permanent establishment and their lackeys are concerned. But yeah, the final point on that insane plot is that basically in the indictment, there were co-conspirators who were mentioned, but obviously not identified, and their roles were not acknowledged either, as far as what sort of role they may have played in the plot. So I thought clearly, you know, in terms of just who knows if you do have rogue assets that do effectively want to kind of I don't know, implement their own sort of vision in a way and think that they can somehow skirt accountability due to their affiliation to certain prominent individuals that they believe hold more power than they might, or maybe, yeah, I'm just speculating. I just think it's interesting, obviously.
What do you think is going to happen if, say, the Supreme Court says to Trump, you know, you can't do something, and he just says, fuck it, and he just goes through it, and just, because the court will have no recourse against him while he's president. Am I correct?
Yeah, I honestly think that they're attempting to achieve these kind of precedent-setting notions and operations in every way. And any time a president is in a lame duck session, you're right that you have to know that they're kind of fully exploiting every last political piece, or let's just say their political capital that they still have you know, on their, I don't know, in their corner in a certain way. Then they'll certainly exploit that for their benefit in those moments. And that was whenever during Biden as well, we kind of pointed that out, right? The lame duck session of Biden and how essentially he would be exploited and kind of, I don't know. It's always frustrating to me how the individual personality, right, takes all of the blows and the ammunition in terms of, right, the public perception of these agenda items being achieved.
They're puppet and shit. This man is the hand and shit.
Exactly.
Are you talking about how they kind of pin everything on their little underlings? And exactly. We're seeing a ridiculous. I mean, we get this, fire Pondy, fire Cash, and there's all these rumors with these exposés of Cash. And even to go even further, I find it funny to bring it back to our Venezuela thing. We have this supposed war crimes, which despite that, I think nothing ever is going to happen. It is funny, this very thing, it just kind of like, it's a parody. It just like ad infinitum, just kind of continues downward, a kicking of the can. The latest is that with the whole war crime thing, is he blamed it on the commander. Essentially, the idea of I delegated it. So it's this. This is how they play the game. They go, they give orders, and then they're like, well, maybe they're legal orders, and they go, well, did I really give that order? You're the one who did it. You're the one who did it. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, I mean, even then, technically, that guy didn't do it. He then gave other orders. That kind of is the idea that like he took the orders of Hegseth and then applied more minute directions to that to apply his directive, and this is how he interpreted it. And he can go, I didn't say that, and you're like, so this is how the game is played. It's always this obfuscation of responsibility to whatever way is the most convenient for the establishment.
Yeah, and they're really going to just keep happening until we keep empowering them. I mean, empowering them in a physical way. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't have any real force or strength to enforce this, instead of us enforcing it on us.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe we might actually be seeing it. We're seeing record low job numbers. And so, but at the same time, though, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I'd be interested to, like, if there's a way that people can see, like, gig economy type stuff. If people are maybe finding innovative ways 'Cause, I mean, a lot of people are. I do think a lot of people are losing legitimate jobs, but I think at the same time it might be actually because the metrics that we use for job indicators are usually based off of official numbers. So if you are people who are, I don't know, let's say you're a waitress, or like say you somehow work for cash, or you do this, or people are doing different things, and I think, I don't know, weird way that might actually, kind of, sort of starve out the beast. So I don't know. I'm kind of thinking out loud a little bit here.
I think we're
so.
Let me here keep going, Shy, but let me I gotta let my dog out. She's freaking out. But when I come back, Shy, don't let me forget. I got to talk about that Indiana pedophile that essentially is committing these heinous sex crimes and has political affiliation and protection, it seems, as well. I'll be right back.
Yeah, that guy's name is Austin Wade Picard. Just kidding, guys. That's a joke.
Like how China has a social credit score, but they're just real authoritarian with their one app or whatever. We're on this thing. How I'm seeing it is, if you don't have a social structure around you where you have friends and family that trust you enough to want to go in with you, at least where I'm living, it's very hard to find afford an apartment by yourself. Like a lot of people like have a system where they have to, have somebody, family or friends and go in. And if you get to a point, like everyone knows, people live paycheck to paycheck for the most part. When you get to that, when you fall below that level, if you don't have that social network, that social credit score of people that are willing to help you out, you know what I'm saying? You go to, and it could even just be like, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people that just grow up that don't have family around and shit like that. And the pandemic has increased that. A lot of people are just kind of left. And I see it a lot. Like people just slowly slip below it. And
I think there's might be a little bit of a silver lining to that too, because I mean, I know with me and my kids and like kind of talks I've had with my wife and kind of like how we anticipate things going, like we kind of already and expect our kids probably live with us until they're like in their 20s, and we're fine with that actually. Like I kind of like the idea of our kids living with us, and I know the idea of kind of more family-centered ideals in a certain weird way. This fucked up economy is actually incentivizing family values, I think, kind of causing families to stay together, more realize the idea of that, escaping the hometown and running off somewhere else may not be so great. There is strength in the family unit. And I don't know. So maybe there's something to that, the idea of people also kind of going into more counter-economic type sense and perhaps working more cash or finding ways to kind of skirt the system in other ways, because I think people are losing faith in the establishment, in the economic system. So, yeah.
Dude, on that point, did you see that new report? I'm sure that's what you're referencing, as far as the Bureau of Labor Statistics coming out and saying that $100,000 today has the same buying power as in 2022, $95,252, right? And then it goes all the way to 1980. 26,538 average starting salary, 18,553 adjusted for inflation, 69,912. So it looks like, as I think the agenda intends, the purchasing power of the American of the kind of just the general public in the United States is in steady decline, right? And they are undermining the value of the dollar in every way possible, while seamlessly introducing this digital component of a cashless society. And that is all by design. So fall into the trap, if you will. Run defense for crypto all you want, but remember what it truly is in its origin project and in its infancy, and what it truly in terms of the sinister nature of the intended outcome, right? We are witnessing it firsthand. And so, I'm very happy that you can kind of at least correct course and lead that into family values and appreciating and this in a more objective way, understanding the issue at hand. But how many people are legitimately suffering, and it's just it's something that people don't care enough because of the level of just kind of I don't know. I guess guilty pleasures that we all are very much guilty of kind of I don't know, just actively pursuing every day of our lives so we can find some sort of I don't know, save face and ability to appreciate what we have, which is great. But I think once again, it's it's been very difficult to live in Los Angeles. I'll tell you that much. And I'm very, very grateful that, I kind of had the means and the ability and the opportunity to make this happen as much as I want to, find a way out here in the near future. I think, I've taken advantage of what is good in this area. And I think that's all we can do wherever we find ourselves, kind of imprisoned by our own experience and our geographical location. But there are good things everywhere, and bad things obviously are factor in at all times, and will ultimately make your decision on if this is a kind of a long-term solution for you and your family. But and I very much have made that decision. But I will say, get out of the big cities, man. I mean, if we haven't understood by now, the Great Reset is a priority in terms of the ultimate agenda, and these 15-minute infrastructure, smart city infrastructure systems that are being very well established and entrenched in this very moment, it's leading the way and laying the groundwork for the future, the future dystopian environment we will find ourselves in the West. And I found it kind of hilarious because on whatever this is, we were talking about how they utilize AI. And I think it was actually on Already Dead after the show last week. We were talking about basically the AI chatbots and these sex bots essentially becoming like, man, that I think I made the joke actually that, oh, that's what the FEMA camps will look like, right? We'll all have our headgear and we'll be essentially jacked off by some digital prostitute. And
we'll all be strapped to jerk off Holocaust machines.
For real, though. I think Sam actually...
we'll choose the jerk off Holocaust machines. Yeah.
I think Sam actually put in and requested a specific a number for his FEMA camp inmate number already. So, but I will say this is truly on the table as far as the dystopian outcome of the totalitarian tiptoe and the technocratic state. So, I think they will make it fundamentally. They will find a way to phase out public transportation, various means of right, even private car ownership. Obviously, if we haven't noticed, I mean, in Los Angeles, it's effectively implemented. I mean, there is a deadline for when basically petrol fueled vehicles are no longer going to be sold within the state. It's just amazing. And the amount of regulation and regulatory action that will affect the individuals who don't obviously placate to the agenda is terrible in its own right. But I think we're on the fast track, right? And this is definitely my ultimate concern, is all I will say. But anyway.
Yeah, Shy. Sorry, go ahead, bub.
You guys heard about the new reproductive insurance?
You talking about health insurance for your old lady? What are you talking about?
Yeah, so it's like how they separate your dental from your health. Yeah. They're going to have a dental, a health, and a reproductive.
Oh my God! Did you see the new fee for not having the digital ID that TSA will employ? Yep, it's like a $45 fine now if you don't fall in line and become a compliant.
I know it.
I mean, it's not a big deal on one person, but you add that up. I mean, that fucking sucks. And that's actually a decent amount. By the way, I think let's get into the Indiana pedophile Shy. I think I figured I'd let you go since this will probably be our last story. We'll bring it to an end here. You got any final thoughts for us, brother?
I do. Fuck Tim Pool.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, he's pretty gay. I love you, brother. All right. See y'all. All right. See ya. Austin, tell me about the Indiana pedophile.
First, I'll bring up his picture so you can see what a prolific predator, looks like in 2025.
Swear to God, if you bring up a picture of me just to fuck with me.
I should have, honestly, but this is the individual perpetrator who is obviously, indicted and just enduring this litigation at the point in terms of the criminal action being brought forward. But it looks like it's very much important and worthwhile in terms of this individual being exposed. And I had no idea really the level of just kind of the sinister nature of the enterprise.
And real quick, for the audio people, it was Joseph Paternal, is that what it said?
Jonathan
Paternal, and it was 6 counts of it's 6 each counts of like 4 separate different variations of essentially some sort of sexual with a kid, different versions of it. Yeah,
I believe child exploitation. You have six counts of possession of child sex abuse materials, dissemination of child sex abuse materials, and possession of child sex abuse materials as well. So these are all separate charges. And he's the son of a pastor, by the way. And this Nathan Peternell or Paternal, I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce it, but and his longtime mentor and apparently close ally was Lieutenant Governor Micah Beckwith of Indiana. And so 7 felony counts related to child sex crimes, according to the court records. And so this individual is 24 years old and is from Pendleton, Indiana, was arrested following an investigation by Hamilton County Metro Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. And so they apparently received a cyber tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, which indicated that Peternell had uploaded child sexual abuse material to Snapchat, Jose, in Indiana, Jose. Do we remember the Delphi murders at all? Do we remember the Snapchat profile,
Snapchat,
Anthony Schatz? Keegan Klein, who effectively was procuring children for what I believe to have been a modern neo-pagan cult organization, which essentially had infiltrated the local, not only the federal government, in my opinion, as far as their local footprint at the federal the federal office in I forget where it is in Indiana, but either way, that is obviously where the task force and the individual agents had been kind of lured out by one of what I believe to have been a sort of modern Gladio operative that ran for mayor locally in Indiana and had a long-standing history for working for the prison complex in Indiana as well, which made me think obviously he probably held dual loyalty to that very same neo-pagan the Odinist organization of the Vinlander group, which clearly they had been wearing those patches declaring their loyalty to the organization among the prison guards who were kind of abusing Richard Allen, who's the alleged perpetrator, who got the ultimate sentence of like 100 and something years in prison without being able to actually defend himself. A task force that was assigned to investigate Odinism and its links to the crime scene was the priority target of this individual, who obviously lobbed the Molotov cocktails at the building, lured out one of the only primary priority targets of that said task force, and then murdered him on the federal the just as far as the federal building, the steps of the federal building. And then he escapes and goes to the local hospital and receives treatment for his injuries, and ran on his mayoral campaign ran entirely on anti-gun legislation, which is hilarious in terms of, in Indiana, rural Indiana, but still just kind of seeing what sort of vital use he might have played in terms of the organization and the enterprise who was attempting to cover up their involvement. I think, it stands to reason he was very much a part of that. But that's what it reminds me of, because clearly Keegan Klein, what happened to him in the Anthony Schatz Snapchat profile, he was in he was apparently in dialogue and communication with that of Libby, and Abby and Libby, who clearly were the 2 girls who were abducted and then murdered brutally in an occult ritual. I think it was an initiatory, a sort of a cult initiation rites, and that's what it was mainly about, and removing the clothes from one of the victims and placing them on the other girl's body, and then positioning their bodies to reflect that of the Odin hanging from World Tree portrait. It's just too much, and the pagan symbols of the antlers on the poor girl who's positioned in a prayer position at the foot of the tree. It just, to me, it screams of Keegan Kline and the Snapchat connection, because again, what happened to him? He effectively was essentially, after one allegedly an unrelated case, this young child, this young girl, she reported to the authorities that she was in contact and in discussion and communication with this very same Snapchat profile in the area. And then within the very same day, within 24 hours, right, by the time nightfall comes, essentially there's a masked man outside of her bedroom window attempting to break in. And so in my mind, I think, well, this is clearly a modern day avenue of procuring victims for an operation in a wider network. There's no way around that. And, again, it's speculation at that point, but it's very difficult for me to not, kind of fall into alluding to that point, implicating.
Well, these task forces, they come in and they fix. I mean, to keep bringing up Program to Kill. I mean, you look into that. What, the Boston Strangler? I think what was the task for the guy who headed the task force? I think he was like former CIA. I might be wrong on that one, but then I know the guy who actually ended up like being the one functionally heading it up, the one leading it. He signed like the assistant DA to run it. Had been like what was it? Some sort of weird like psychic experiments in the NSA when he was younger. They brought in some psychic. It's just like any time. I mean, it's so many times you look into these weird task forces, these weird connections, and how these things fall into place. Like, I think even the Boston Strangler, they utilize a psychic that like then somehow like they were like the psychic was able to tell them about somebody that was already a suspect, and so that kind of corroborated it. And then the next thing you know, this guy goes off to a hospital, one of the Bridgewater Hospital, which is a mental facility that comes up a lot, and we just never see from him again. So it's just kind of like, oh, he got sheltered, he got sent off to the loony bin as soon as he got identified for a fix-up.
He got the Leo treatment in Shutter Island. They gave him the full lobotomy, probably. He's walking around like a shell of himself, some sort of empty vessel. But the craziest details in regards to this Indiana case, as far as Jonathan Peternell or Paternal is concerned, is the fact that he had a podcast he co-hosted, and it was a Christian podcast, and it was called Jesus, Sex, and Politics. So that alone drew my attention, obviously, and he was the lead pastor for all Life Church campuses, apparently, and he's again the son of a lead pastor allegedly in the area as well, and so again, when you see the details of what he was allegedly responsible for being a part of, and beyond the fact that there's apparently a tweet or a post from Lieutenant Governor Micah Beckwith wishing him a happy birthday, and it's like a birthday greeting on social media to Life Church pastor Nathan Peternell, who's the actual 24-year-old perpetrator. So again, this is a politically connected, prominent individual in the area who is clearly implicated as being involved in a child sex abuse network. And so, and he, by the way, he had contributed himself. Like, it was only like $100 on the record that he had contributed to Beckwith's campaign committee in March of 2024. But still, it's notable that he's clearly providing some sort of financial contributions to his political campaigns. But so here's the most interesting aspect of the affidavit: is he could be framed. It's possible, Uncle Ted, definitely, and I'm not at all outside of just as far as not willing to consider that as a possibility. I think it's plausible enough. You never know who is hung out to dry and wasn't necessarily as effective and active within the context of the network, and is just loosely affiliated, and therefore is kind of crucified with the ultimate consequence in terms of facilitating a cover-up. that's on the table at all times, I feel like. And you know what this reminded me of was not only Delphi, but the Hosanna Church scandal in a way, although it wasn't as dark and disturbing, some of the extraordinary details in regard to the case. We haven't yet been fully exposed to, some of the more, I don't know, I feel like if this goes to trial in a way, that maybe we will have some more reinforcing details that will help provide a window into how this was being facilitated and kind of functioned in a way. But so here's the interesting part. After he was read his Miranda rights, investigators noted that he identified himself as a member of the Indiana National Guard who works as a Black Hawk helicopter mechanic in Shelbyville, and confirmed his phone number matched the cyber tip report. When told he was under investigation for child exploitation and possession of child sexual abuse material, he instantly obviously requested to speak to an attorney. So detectives seized multiple laptops, iPads, tablets, cell phones, and storage devices from his home for forensic processing. In reviewing the data, the investigators reported finding more than 200 files of suspected child sexual abuse material, including what they described as, quote, sadomasochistic child abuse, and, quote, photorealistic AI-generated photos of nude pregnant toddlers. So the affidavit also states that more than 50 photos and videos were located on Paternal's phone that appeared to show his parents nude or engaged in sex acts. His parents.
I'd be curious if it was all just AI stuff, because I mean, obviously, like, it does complicate things, because, like, obviously, I mean, we're a little bit conspiratorial here, and whenever we hear about child trafficking rings, and anytime there's like child porn, I almost assume there's some sort of a network, because it's like, how do you even get that, So, but now if we're in the AI world, you're like, isn't it weird? I guess that doesn't necessarily, the one thing doesn't necessarily follow after the other. Are there any other weird connections to this guy? Because I know you said he's a Black Hawk. The only reason I'm asking, because as you're saying, I'm like, oh shit! Like I actually, it sounds like he said he was a Black Hawk mechanic. So I'm assuming just a helicopter crew chief is what it sounds like for the military. Right. And Black Hawks, it doesn't necessarily. I mean, he could be part of some like shady unit. I mean, if we knew more, that'd be interesting. Like if he was part of like a spec ops unit, because. I think sometimes they have their own specific like maintenance divisions or even spec ops or something, so that could mean something because it's like I think more of like a more top secret essentially, so they kind of have to break up their people that way.
You know what's interesting though is that podcast he had, that Christian podcast called
real quick, sorry, the point I wanted to get at is that I've actually, not me myself, but literally when I was in the military, there was a guy who was actually like one of the people who probably two main people who trained me in my job the most, and one of them, kind of like the guy, kind of like, hey, hold my pocket, learn your job type deal, this is what we do. He got busted for one of those stupid those like stings you see on TV every now and then, like the come on, sit down, have a cookie, like whatever, the Chris Hansen thing. He got busted in one of those. And for trying to, it was crazy. He had just had like a kid, like within days, like just had his first baby with his wife, and he got busted for trying to meet like a 14 or 15-year-old or something. So it's not that, I guess it is crazy, but it is also, normal people also do get busted for this shit too. Well, not, okay, obviously by definition, you're not normal if you're fucking into this shit, but you know what I mean. The wolves live among us, and it doesn't necessarily mean there's some crazy other thing going on, although when it's CP there is at least some loose connection of something going on, typically, in my opinion.
We've mentioned many times the the notion of the strategic concept of just inserting child pornography onto a computer, and it I feel like we have many different examples of that happening. Even Stephen Paddock's brother, right, Bruce Paddock, and the strange child pornography charges that he was faced with, and just as he was kind of being more and more vocal and facing some sort of public appearance that I can't recall the details now, but I remember. Well, in terms of this podcast, though, the Christian podcast that he co-hosted, the additional co-host was. Happened to be the very same Lieutenant Governor Micah Beckwith. So he was actively, apparently, doing a podcast with this politically prominent individual, and also Beckwith would lead the congregation at times, and can be seen during even a screening of some sort of conservative Christian documentary, and so that's worthwhile as well in mentioning. But yeah, the most sinister details of what we know of, obviously, is that obviously is from the CyberTip report and from the indictment itself, in terms of the strange amount of AI generated photos that he had. But the affidavit also stated that apparently he's circulating these photos and videos and all this explicit material in a Snapchat group. And this is the court documents, apparently a part of the affidavit as well. Investigators discovered that these chat logs suggested Paternal was distributing this explicit material in a group called Diddy Disciples. The group obviously is referencing Diddy, who's clearly in prison at this moment. And did you see the hilarious picture of
That's what I'm looking for right now. I'm scrolling through my bookmarks like, please find it quick. Please find it quick. Go on.
Diddy Disciples, like it couldn't. I mean, honestly, at least we have some comedic value attached to this story.
Yeah,
but
make it a little less dark when we see it. Literally Diddy reenacting like a Longest Yard fucking skit or something. Here's him with Tracy Morgan with pigtails. This is a legit photo, by the way. This is released by TMZ. This is Diddy on the court with his boo on his arm, with legit looks like Tracy Morgan from like The Longest Yard, with the fucking pigtails. But go on.
Oh, by the way, there was an episode in 2021 from this podcast that he co-hosted, and it was an episode titled "Stopping Sexual Assault and Sex Trafficking." And they interviewed a sexual assault survivor and a representative from an organization called Not Today, a foundation that was started by this ties in the NFL, then Colts coach, the Indianapolis Colts, their coach, Frank Reich, and his wife, Linda, to combat child abuse and trafficking. It's very interesting.
By the way, real quick, those are fake. Sorry, those were fake.
Oh, I knew that picture was actually allegedly AI generated, but still, it's one of the funniest things that I saw for the following.
It's real, guys. It's real.
But he is hanging out with Sebastian Telfair, the NBA player who's just notable in terms of the gambling scandal that just recently happened. But I will say that Nick Bryant, I don't know, it might have even been as long as a year ago. But I think it was less than that. He came out with a report, or at least had tweeted something. It was an article referencing the rampant sexual child trafficking connections to various NFL franchises and organizations, including the New Orleans Saints, which made sense to me because there's all this, internal NFL scandals that kind of took the spotlight for a while, one of which was called Bountygate, and it ties into the New Orleans Saints under Sean Payton at that time when, if you remember, following Katrina, they win the Super Bowl, and it just felt orchestrated and manufactured. It felt like following 9/11 when the Patriots started their dynasty. It's very similar, in that sort of sense. It's almost like a revelation of the method in a way. But not only was he paying players to target other opponent players, who were vital to the team's success and would obviously attempt to injure them in the process. That was what Bountygate was. Basically, the leadership in the organization of the Saints were paying players additional money to attempt to injure opposing players. And so that clearly was a huge scandal. But then it turns out that Sean Payton also was essentially facilitating opiates to members on the staff. and he basically was had a team doctor who was completely compromised and was just handing out opiates to members of the staff, who were then selling them to players, to players' families, to staff members' families, things of that nature. So they're just facilitating some sort of drug trafficking operation, and they're all addicted to opiates during that time. And I just thought it was hilarious. But the fact of the matter is, there's direct connections in terms of the organization helping facilitate child sex trafficking through various organizations that they supported and financially would basically give donations and things of that nature to their cause. But in reality, it seems like some sort of lucrative way to prop up the enterprise in a certain sense. But anyway, they cover many different issues on this podcast. Allegedly, one of which was a guest who claimed the episode was titled "I Was Once Transgender," and so it's obviously a political kind of perspective and window into some of these issues, I feel like. But yeah, so beyond all of that, it does seem as if you have a direct tie-in to what looks like another very prominent organization in professional sports that could very well be implicated in, at the very least, let's say, being affiliated with these potential perpetrators involved in a child sex trafficking operation and a child porn enterprise. I mean, again, it's pedophile occupied government, my brother.
Pogs, not the cool kind.
Not the good kind, man.
Not the good kind. I know we all love Pogs, but not this kind. Well, we're getting a little late in the tooth. We'll leave this. I think we could leave it on this final point, guys. Apparently, they just the Federal Reserve just pumped almost $14 billion into the banking system overnight. This is apparently the second largest injection of liquidity since COVID. It even goes past the .com bubble. I think we'll be cool, guys. Everything will work out just fine. I'm sure this will allow Trump to coast right through the end of this this thing. I'm sure it'll work out just fine. It won't accelerate any sort of bubble. I mean, hey, who knows? Maybe we'll actually be sitting nice. We'll have a nice little boom for the next year, and then our whole entire fucking floor will fall out from us in about a year. So that's great. That's wonderful. Maybe one of these days people will learn about the boom bust cycle.
Yeah.
Till then, we'll be here for you guys. Austin, where can people find you at?
All right, you guys know nothing but love, and I appreciate all of you for showing up. And I saw someone say quantitative easing with the quotations, and yeah, there's no better term that was manufactured to kind of kick
parentheses around it.
Yeah, honestly, but move the goalposts and kick that can, my friend. It's never your fault, but I will say that. I appreciate you all, and you know where to find me. The Underclass Podcast, the best place, and the patreon.com/the Underclass Podcast, the best place to support me if you have the means, and anything I've ever said has resonated with you. By all means, come hang out with us on whatever this is. We just did kind of. We dropped 2 in like 4 days, I think. So, there's some incentive there, and go check it out. I know it's always a good time, but it was hilarious because I showed Sam. Remember that video I showed you from One Battle After Another last week after the show, where Sean Penn's character talks about being raped in reverse as his justification for having sexual encounter with a black revolutionary he impregnated. Anyway, I showed Sam and Brad that video on whatever this is last night, and Sam had to reveal to me that basically he has been raped in reverse 3 times, guys. He's very much traumatized by this experience.
Yeah, he loves the black ladies and the N-word. That's the only way he can bust.
And the AI chatbot called him the N-word, and I was like, don't get seduced by ChatGPT, dude. We all know it's possible. But anyway, I love you guys. And come back next week. Call in.
Hell yeah. Appreciate you guys showing up as you guys do every Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. If you want to support what I'm doing, please leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. You can find the show on YouTube, Rumble, all the major audio podcatchers. You can find this on Twitter at Tower Gang Jose as well. Those are all the steps you can do without giving any money that help boost this signal. But if you want to if you want to help the show in the best way you possibly can, that's with money over at patreon.com/nowayjose20. The lowest level is $2. That's where you get access to a whole host of perks. You give you guys 1 to 2 episodes a week behind the paywall. That's about 4 behind the paywall any given time. Also give you access to the ad-free RSS feed, to the Telegram, and to the pre-show, post-show, and the video calls on me and Austin's weekly live call-in show that you're watching right now, Already Dead, which is on Tuesdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. And the highest level is my sponsors, and I give them a big shout-out every episode. It's a big thank you for their support. At my previous co-host and Tower Gang, at Learn to Toad, also at Brigade D's, at ZeoBRCK, at _Infant Zeal, Tim Tuttle, at Jolly Cleepold, Free My Nigga. Big fan of the show, Torme, at Wayne Tagless, 1-800-CAR for Kids, No Free Lunch, Jack, Mark Vestibule, and Jacob Winograd of the Biblical Anarchy Podcast. In which I totally made that shit happen. He's about ready to have that Zulu Dave Smith debate for those who care about that sort of shit. So that's happening. We'll see if it's going to be blood sports or a meaningful debate. Either way, I do think it's funny. Jacob gives me money, and he's a Jew, and I'm his little goy, and I created controlled chaos to get Dave Smith to go on his show. So that's what you guys get if you give me $20 per month. You can, too, pay for some controlled chaos that will likely work out in your favor. But we'll see you guys next week at Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Or you can pop into my daily show on usually Monday through Friday around 11 a.m. Eastern. I am redoing my kitchen right now, so it's a little bit off, a little bit weird. So be sure to hit that notification bell to get. Be sure to hit that bell to get notifications for whenever we go live, whether it's on Already Dead or the morning show or whatever. And that goes for both of our channels. Boost us both. Give us both kisses. We love you, bitches. See you. Bye.